In this video, I'll talk about variables in Matlab. So a variable is basically a name you give to store either a number or a string. And by a string, I mean an expression. It could be a combination of letters. It could be a combination of letters and numbers. However, this expression cannot be used in performing mathematical or arithmetic operations. So let's start by creating a numeric variable. So I can say a equals 1. And basically I'm storing the number 1 under the name a. Your variable name could also be a small expression, so I could call it first underscore variable equals 1. So I'm storing again the number 1 under this variable. To create a string, you will need to use a single quotation mark. So let's create a string. Let's call it first string equals, and using a quotation mark, let's write hello world, whatever it is. So now I have this expression, hello world. You could store a mathematical operation under a variable. So I could say, let's create a variable g, and it will be 3 multiplied by 4. So now g equals 12. You can do that. If I create another variable, let's call it t, and you divide two numbers, let's say 4 divided by 3. Now I can multiply the two variables, or I can perform mathematical operations by just calling the variables. So I can go g plus t, and I can add the two variables together. You can also divide them. You could subtract. You could add the two variables. Another thing to note is, as you can see on the right hand side, you have your workspace, and you can see that it basically gives you a table of all the variables you created and their current values. You can also overwrite a variable. So initially let's say we create a new variable, let's call it b equals 3. You could, so on the right hand side here, you see that b has a value of 3. You can overwrite it and say b equals 2. And now b has a value of 2. So you can change the expressions inside your variables, or the numbers inside your variables, as you progress through the code. If you want to clear your memory from all the variables, so on the right hand side here you see all the variables you have. It's usually good practice whenever you start a new script or start a new code to just write clear, and this will remove all the variables you have. And you need to do this to avoid confusion. If let's say, so a lot of people have a tendency to use the same variable names in when coding. So maybe you're using the letter K every time you code. So it's usually a good practice to just clean it out so that you don't confuse the different codes you have. So clear is the expression you use. If you want to just clean up your screen, you can write CLC, and CLC just cleans your command window from all the history of your previous expressions.